Good evening, everyone. This is MBA 8650, and we are Group B. Our group consists of Jennifer Berklas, Dominick Daniele, Pearce Haggarty, Alex Leary, Andres Lee, Ashley Raus, and I'm Michael Cook. In this presentation, we will be responding to the Mountain Man Brewing Company case, and more specifically responding to the recommendations outlined by Group A in their initial case analysis. Since everyone has already read both the case as well as seen the analysis provided by Group A in their video, we will not be reviewing many of the case basics. We will spend our time during this presentation covering several different areas. First, we will look at the recommendations made by Team A and discuss whether we agree with those recommendations. Once we have looked at those initial recommendations, we will spend the rest of the time presenting our own alternative options and different marketing strategies that Mountain Man Brewing Company could follow for the release of their light lager line. These are the summarized recommendations for Group A. First, Mountain Man Brewing Company should release a light beer line. Second, they should rebrand the name and update the logo to Drop Man. This would be done to attract women and younger drinkers. Third, when developing the light beer, it needs to maintain their distinct beer flavor, even if that makes it a higher calorie option. Finally, they need to keep the original Mountain Man lager the same. At a general level, our team agrees that the launching of the light beer line is the right choice for this brewery. Launching the light beer positions the brewery in a place to expand their market and grow financially. With their current decline in sales and increased demand for light beer, it makes sense to go in this direction. We also agree that it is important for the company to find a way to target new demographics such as younger drinkers and women. Finally, we also agree that the original Mountain Man lager should stay the same to avoid alienating that beer's loyal following. While we do agree with the principal recommendations to launch the light beer laid out by Group A, we would like to spend the rest of our time discussing an alternative marketing and branding vision and some strategies which we think would be beneficial for Mountain Man to utilize. Additionally, we will take some time to discuss some historical examples from other brewing companies that face similar situations to that of Mountain Man and discuss how those comparisons can help Mountain Man Brewing Company make the best choice regarding product line expansion. We feel these historical examples can provide some basis for financial and performance estimates for the launch of their new beer and should be strongly considered by the Mountain Man Brewing Company team. Finally, we will examine the financial implications of our recommendations.
We conducted a SWOT analysis of Mountain Man Brewing Company and found the following. For strengths, they are a market leader with an established brand name. Even though they are established and a market leader, they do have a narrow customer base, which is really made up of working class males. Their sales have not been strong and they've seen a downturn in recent years. For opportunities, we think that they can target a new demographic to reach more consumers. They can diversify their income stream through this and capture more of the beer drinking market. There's still a lot of market out there for them. Threats, obviously, whenever you introduce a new product or go in a slightly different direction, you do risk some of the sales with your traditional lagers and risk alienating some of your customer base. And there's always some new costs associated with producing a new product. So we tried to forecast a bit of what those costs might be, but some of those things that can be affected, obviously, are how much it costs for materials and to produce the beer, as well as the headcount that has to go into producing this new product line. Our marketing vision is based on embracing nostalgia. We wanted to capitalize on the Mountain Man's vintage feel, which resonates with a younger demographic. We want this demographic to have a feeling of summers past, which is why we called it Summer Storm. We want them to think of, their fathers that were outside grilling while they drank the original Mountain Man lager. The limited edition Summer Storm offers that nostalgic feeling, but also has a level of exclusivity since we're doing this as a trial run for a limited time. We also felt it was important to keep the price point low as a selling point so we don't alienate loyal customers who may be willing to try the light beer. Our launch plans are really around focusing on social media advertising, which would start in early to mid-May, and the full launch would be right around Memorial Day to coordinate with the summer kickoff. Many cities and towns with younger demographics have introduced pop-up beer gardens throughout the summer. We wanted to add Summer Storm and have them make an appearance at these different events, which typically start in early June and run throughout the summer. If we find that distributors are embracing Summer Storm and that we're seeing, the traction that we want, we hope to ramp up production and target some local music festivals. These can range greatly from a couple hundred people to thousands, so we'd really have to do a review of our production model to ensure that we can commit. In August, we plan to wind down production and distribution. Once we hit September and the Labor Day holiday, we would pretty much keep things to a halt so we can do a review of the past summer's performance. If our marketing works and we did attract the younger demographic, we would then hope to build some demand for it to come back. And in probably late September, after we did kind of that full analysis, we would bring back the light beer and make it a permanent staple. You'll see here some examples of our ads and the beer pop-up that I had mentioned. We want to target things like Instagram, Facebook, and then local universities or festival areas that younger demographic really spends more time in or on in the summer. We want to make sure that this really resonates with them, but we don't feel that big advertisements are something that will resonate with this group that we're looking to target. We also didn't want to go too large with our advertising because we know that would cost quite a good amount of budget, and we don't want to make it an overwhelming ad where our current customers think that we're going in a new direction and don't feel like they can get on board with it. So we were trying to be a little bit more subtle about this.
One area we wanted to focus on in our response to Group A's analysis that would help further support the move to introduce the light beer is the fact that many beer companies aside from Mountain Man Brewing Company have persevered through downturns. More than a handful of brewing companies have endured periods of sustained growth and popularity before falling into difficult situations that have pushed these businesses to the brink of extinction. Our group managed to compile a list of 3 beer companies that at one point found themselves in similar situations to MMBC. These 3 companies are Pabst Blue Ribbon, more commonly known as PBR, Yuengling, and Narragansett. PBR is a 175-year-old establishment that was founded in 1844. They experienced well over 100 years of success before running into issues in the 1980s and 1990s when popularity suddenly began to decrease. However, PBR decided to embrace a laid-back approach to market in the mid-2000s that subsequently targeted hipsters. This strategy created unintended positive consequences, as PBR drinkers appreciated the passive approach utilized by the company. The brand image of PBR allowed the company to regain popularity while maintaining an authentic feel. We believe MMBC should take note of PBR's strategy and understand that an existing powerful brand image can go a long way and help propel a company to new heights. Yuengling is another company that once had its back up against the wall and needed to make a decision. Founded in 1829, Yuengling rose to prominence and experienced years of success right up until the mid-1980s when the company was on the verge of extinction due to slipping sales. The CEO at the time took action and invested in equipment, manufacturing, introduced new beers, rebranded the company, and attempted to target a new market. This strategy paid dividends, allowing the company to instantly regain traction among consumers, new and old, while maintaining its core roots that had once made it so popular. MMBC is in a situation that is strikingly similar to Yuengling's predicament in the mid-80s. MMBC stands to learn from Yuengling's strategy of targeting local bars and restaurants as a means of attracting a new customer base in a different setting. Additionally, if a brewing company is large and established, as Yuengling can roll the dice and risk its future and brand image with the launch of new products, Mountain Man leadership must realize they need to be willing to take a risk, knowing that a new launch is the company's best chance of survival. With the successful launch of a new product, MMBC aims to reap the benefits of a win-win scenario by reaching entirely new markets while providing to consumers, or proving to consumers that it can innovate while remaining truthful to its core brand. Lastly, Narragansett Brewing Company created yet another brewing company success story when it defied all possibilities and resurrected itself to become a common name in the beer industry. Narragansett is another very old beer establishment that at one point had completely ceased to exist. Following a bad acquisition in the mid-1960s, Narragansett entered a period of turbulence that eventually brought the company to its end. However, the company was reestablished in the mid-2000s and made its way back to prominence by utilizing its classic branding while simultaneously partnering with local companies to create new and fresh products for the consumer. We believe MMBC can learn a lot from these beer companies' comeback stories. All three of these stories showcase the need for leadership to take action in order to avoid stagnation and ultimately extinction. MMBC needs to follow the lead of PBR, Yuengling, and Narragansett if they want to survive and compete in the current beer industry. Lastly, we'll take a look at some financial data and forecasts. We are generally aligned with Group A's forecasts and assumptions and have built out the full consolidated income statement that includes the P&L of both the original Mountain Man Lager as well as the launch of the light beer. We also broke down revenue between the forecasted price and volumes, as this will allow for easier updates to the model with any new information that comes to light after the new product launch. What we want to focus on is the operating margin. We can ignore taxes and other miscellaneous income, as we assume those will stay constant. Operating margin shows us the performance of the product, as we can see a favorable trend of operating margin growth as we forecast into the latter years. Individually looking at the original lager financial forecast, pricing was kept constant. However, we are expecting both volume decreases from the shift in consumer demand as well as the cannibalization impact in the form of the new product. We assume the costs of sales, SG&A, and other operating expenses as a percentage of revenue will remain the same. And turning to the light beer forecast, we are expecting both sales and market share growth. There is a higher cost of sales per barrel incorporated into the forecast, and SG&A is expected to level off after the initial year. From this we can see by the end of 2007, year 2 of the launch, this product will provide a net positive return, which should convince the senior management team that the volumes from the launch will more than cover the incremental costs and loss of sales from Mountain Man Lager. And with that, we've concluded our response to the Mountain Man Brewing Company case.